Thank you so much for attending my PowerPoint presentation on Snapfire, a hero for cowards. Snapfire is a ranged universal support whose most iconic feature is making you know that your fate was sealed before the gank even began. This is thanks to her ultimate, Mortimer's Kisses, which is an extremely high cast range series of magical AoE nukes that also slow on contact. At max level, it can deal up to 2,880 max damage just from impacts alone, not even the 100 magical DPS burn damage that it leaves on the ground. It also has 2.5 times the cast range of a Blink Dagger. Now, while it sounds like she would be one of those characters whose kit is almost entirely based around her ultimate, she is not. In fact, her Q, Scatterblast, actually encourages her to be right up in your face whenever she casts it. This ability is a conical magic damage nuke that will deal 50% bonus damage if you're within half of the cast range of her. It's great for both laning and farming, and with her preferred facet, you can load it up with Buckshot instead. Her W is Snapfire Cookie, which is the primary reason this hero is considered a support. Cookie Grandma can send herself or an ally forward, dealing an AoE stun whenever they hit the ground. With an Aghanim shard, you can attach a single Mortimer's Kiss to it, allowing you to take out a creep wave while your carry watches, 200 gold away from a BKB. And finally, Little Shredder, a self buff that reworks your auto attack for just 5 hits. It grants 5 rapid fire attacks that deal a flat amount of damage, plus a percentage of your normal physical attack damage, and it also reduces armor for each stack you apply. It's a very strong laning tool and gives her a very interesting niche as a counter to certain heroes, but most importantly, it allows Morphling to use his ult on her and then solo Roche. Her current preferred facet, Full Bore, flips the preferred range of Scatterblast, dealing the bonus damage at the end of it rather than the beginning. Her core facet, Ricochet 2, interacts with her innate, which gives her bonus damage but a chance to inflict glancing blows that deal decreased damage. Whenever you roll low, you will instead get 2 bonus attacks that ricochet towards nearby targets, making so that you never actually pay for your crime of having 30% bonus damage all the time. All of these things combined make for a support hero who's heavily focused on damage and either wants to be right up in your grill or completely off of your screen. She's very fun to play, and she also has one of the highest grief potentials in the game thanks to her Aghanim Scepter, Gobble Up, but we'll be talking about that one later. As for her lore, Snapfire is actually not named Snapfire. It's a combination of an old woman who lives out in the desert named Beatty and a dragon toad that she adopted one day named Mortimer. She bakes very good cookies that drive others to do violence, and that's really all the lore that we have for her. When she was first revealed, my first thought was, oh great, they're gonna start selling plushies of all the heroes now, and they made Mortimer specifically to appeal to that market. My knee-jerk reaction was to be upset, and now I'm still upset, but only because they never actually followed through on making those plushies. Perhaps I'm part of the problem, because if they ever did make a life-size Mortimer plushie, I would buy it immediately. Now let's talk a little bit more about Mortimer's Kisses. Cast range is one of the most defining balance features of any ability in all of Dota 2. Doom, the ability, is actually quite strong, but Doom, the hero, has to basically be right on top of you in order to cast it. Windranger's Power Shot, meanwhile, is a powerful ability specifically because she can cast it while she's out in Timbuktu. But Mortimer's Kisses would be an absolutely insane ability if it didn't have any cast range at all and she could just use it on herself, like that glitch Gunner discovered shortly after her release. But it has such an insane range that you can contribute to a teamfight happening around the Tier 2 after TPing in to the Tier 3. It also gets that insane cast range starting right at level 1, meaning that the first couple casts are going to be used to secure kills that were primarily earned by other heroes. In this capacity, you essentially function as a support Zeus, allowing you to pick off heroes when they thought that they were safe just by TPing in and hitting the R button. The visuals of the ability also lead to some rather strange play patterns, because the angle that the Mortimer's Kisses are launched at reveals roughly where you're casting it from. At least once a game, some random hero, maybe an Ursa or an Earthshaker, will break completely away from the teamfight in order to track you down, but by the time they actually get to you, your entire ultimate has finished and you're Snapfire cookieing yourself away. Now, any ability that can deal up to 3,000 magical damage or more is going to have an insane ceiling, but I didn't even factor in Snapfire's level 25 talent. If the game goes really late, that number doubles up to 6,000, which is enough to kill pretty much anyone except for the pudge that your teammates spent all game feeding. That's also before any form of spell amp, which could be from a neutral item, or if you're feeling particularly confident in your aim, some kind of Kaya item. The downside to all of this is the fact that it's very awkward to aim, and you're going to be spamming right-click on where you think enemy heroes will be in about 2 seconds. It also has a minimum range, which means that if enemy heroes get right on top of you, there's not really much you can do, except for canceling your ulti and eating snacks about it. If you ever discover a new glitch that allows you to cast Snapfire ulti right on top of yourself, please email me about it, and I will reward you with whatever amount of money is necessary to buy a single pack of cigarettes wherever you live. Now, if dealing over 9,000 damage with Mortimer's Kisses wasn't enough for you, I'll be glad to inform you that she also has Little Shredder. This ability temporarily replaces Snapfire's usual right-click with a rapid-fire machine gun that also reduces your armor. The real notable part is that it basically raises her attack speed up to maximum, and each of the attacks counts as an individual right-click. This means that on top of having to worry about your ultimate, there are certain heroes who basically cannot play the game against a Snapfire. The most famous example is definitely Undying, because when he drops Tombstone at level 1, it requires 5 hits to kill. This means that Snapfire can simply hit E, burn down the Tombstone, save her core, claim the gold, and actually be a hero instead of a coward for once. Now, while that's probably the most insane version of the counter, there's a bunch of other heroes who just hate seeing this ability on the enemy team. You can take out a huge chunk of Phoenix's egg, you can get rid of Netherward in a blast, and TA is absolutely no match for an old woman and a Pixar-designed lizard. Little Shredder also has support applications because you can use it to help prep Roche, and it's amazing for dewarding. If you're in one of those weird situations where you're attempting to use a sentry to kill the opponent's sentry, very few heroes can beat you on the draw. In fact, only Jakiro comes to mind, or Ursa if he's in the right position. It brings a ton of utility to Snapfire and gives her a very interesting niche beyond just being a support who deals a ton of damage. But if you'd like, you can also abuse Little Shredder to become a core who deals a ton of damage instead. If you dedicate your entire talent tree to it, Little Shredder can become 6 attacks that use 95% of your base damage and also attack 3 different targets at the same time. The magical Christmas Land scenario is that you stack a bunch of on-hit effects like Mjolnir and Daedalus, pop Little Shredder, and instantly get a rampage. Now, while I am prone to advertising things like right-click Jakiro, it's worth noting that right-click Snapfire is not just a meme, and has actually had a considerable amount of success in the pro scene. Valve has had to rework Little Shredder in order to prevent it from becoming the default way to play her, which if you ask me is a total shame. Right-click mid-Snapfire is one of the most fun ways to play Dota, and while it's currently relegated to just Turbo Cheese, I fully expect it to re-enter the meta due to a weird patch note sometime within the next few months. The insane ceiling of the ability is just begging you to make your teammates upset, but even if you resist the urge, don't worry, there's a second way to grief your team. And on that cliffhanger, I just wanted to mention that the second bonus video of its first month is now out for my Patreon. You can sign up now on the middle tier to watch it and the video on the shitty wizard, but there's also a lower tier option for $3 that gets you all my videos as soon as I finish editing them. There's also the high tier, which gives you access to custom goods like bespoke audio recordings, MS Paint doodles, and handwritten letters delivered to your front door. Use code PUGNACHAN for 20% off your first month. Snapfire's Aghanim Scepter is so funny that I've chosen to devote an entire slide to it. So whenever you get the item, you will gain access to a new ability called Gobble Up that allows you to eat your friends and spit them out at the same range that you could launch Mortimer's Kisses. Now, of course, you could use this for the forces of good, sending a Tidehunter into the perfect Ravage spot or shooting an SF out while he channels his ultimate in the middle of the air. Instead, you buy this item so you can take a position 5 who's been griefing you all game and launch him into the enemy team, making his KD slightly worse. If you're playing with friends, you instead buy it so that at the very end of the game, when you're taking the final racks, you can eat up your friend playing carry and launch him into the fountain. While Gobble Up is most famous for its meme potential, I do legitimately think it's a very good item and definitely worth considering if you have heroes who want an express ticket to the enemy backline. It also has incredible defensive capabilities because you're effectively using Pudge's shard that he had for 1400 gold. So if you get this and a blink dagger and you're near the enemy LC's target, you can immediately cancel the duel by committing Vor. Then, once they've spent some time inside your ballet, you can shoot them out, dealing a magical AoE nuke while also stunning anyone that you hit. Whenever I buy it, the intended purpose is indeed to grief my friends, but it is actually a legitimately good item and can work in a pub environment with the smallest amount of communication. What I'm saying is that when you die in Dota, it is always your fault, so rush this item right after Arcane Boots and shoot your angry mid laner under the enemy tier 4s. Now, if all of this sounds appealing to you, or you can't wait to get old so you can start saying racist shit at family holidays, here is how to play Snapfire. Going into the lane, you're going to want to make the most of each individual spell cast, because your mana pool really isn't that great. If you're going to be casting Scatterblast, you absolutely need to be getting that 50% bonus damage, whether it requires you to be close or far away. Your W is also a very potent offensive tool, but for the first couple of waves, you're actually going to be using it defensively, if at all. Save it for when the enemy Juggernaut starts going on your Slardar, and he's not going to die to spin, instantly making his life that much better. But if you don't want to deal with managing your mana and you're worried about the D-ward status of the jungle, you can instead go Little Shredder at level 1. This ability deals, I couldn't even tell you the number, too much damage. It just deals too much damage in the early lane, and you can use it to effectively harass while also dealing with the enemy wards. If you do see a kill opportunity, don't be afraid to burn Snapfire Cookie and Scatterblast in order to stun and then slow the enemy laners while your offlaner does the heavy lifting. Any kills that you get will get you a little bit closer to getting Mortimer's Kisses, and when you do finally get that point in level 6, I recommend just TPing to the mid lane and letting it rip. If the enemy Pause 2 lacks any sort of mobility tool and has less than, 3,000 damage at 10 minutes, they're probably going to die. Since you have so much offensive potential already built into your kit, a good amount of your item build is going to be dedicated to keeping you and your teammates alive. Arcane Boots is obvious because you're a universal hero and all of your mana costs are insane, so pick that up first, followed by either a Glimmer Cape or a Force Staff depending on the enemy lineup. Grab the one you didn't go, and then you have to commit to either the Long Haul for Guardian Greaves or picking up an Aghanim Shard to help you farm. In a winning game, Aghanim Shard is a better option because you have more space to farm and you can pop it on range creeps to push lanes quite safely. But if you're losing, Guardian Greaves is a very good gotcha item to suddenly turn a teamfight in your favor. Just keep in mind that the optimal range for Guardian Greaves is quite different from the optimal range for your ultimate. And now that you've spent all game saving your teammates, it's time to get them killed by picking up an Aghanim Scepter. Scoop up whoever on your team is the tankiest and just throw them at the enemy backline. In the best case scenario, they pop a circle on the ground and start the team fight on a great note, and also set up your ultimate. In the worst case scenario, the enemy team will kill them by burning every single one of their spells after panicking upon getting vomited on. Now your teammate may get a little bit frustrated that you turned him into an involuntary kamikaze pilot, but if he didn't disable help, that means he actually wants you to keep doing it, and just wants to be a little tsundere about it. This is already a pretty full inventory, but if the game is going late and your cores aren't getting the job done, you have one slot left. Use it to buy a rapier. I wrote a little bit about the devaluing of positioning in modern Dota. Feel free to read it if you like. Now if you're tired of losing to Snapfire, or your favorite scene in Midsummer was when the old people killed themselves, here's how to beat her. The most straightforward way of kneecapping a Snapfire player is to have a way to cancel their ultimate. Highly mobile heroes who have some way of canceling it, like Earth Spirit, are the best option for the job, but we both know that you can't play that hero, so just pick Silencer instead. She also can't move or run away while casting her ultimate, so heroes like Bloodseeker and Death Prophet can also be a good option. But the best option by far is Nyx's Assassin, because he can always just pop Spike Carapace, get hit by a single kiss, and then immediately cancel it, with really no way to deal with it outside of popping a BKB before she hits her R button. Of course, getting to her is also the difficult part, because she has her cookie in order to get away from you, and Scatterblast has a surprisingly strong slow attached to it for some goddamn reason. Heroes that can maintain vision of her like Bounty Hunter and Sardar are great, especially because they both have methods of canceling the ultimate. If you didn't draft such tools, you can instead go for mobility options like Force Staff and Blink to get on top of her. Lastly, damage reflection is extremely strong. Snapfire, being a universal support, is a little bit tankier than the average 4, but if you pop a Blade Mail in her ultimate, she will kill herself on accident because she is not paying attention to her own HP bar. If all else fails, you can simply wait for her to die of natural causes, acquire her social security number, and then cosplay as an old lady to continue getting pension checks. In conclusion, Snapfire is a detached hero, and you should absolutely play her. In some of my videos, I depict Snapfire as a trusty and dependable old woman who gives good advice, but make no mistake, she will absolutely drop a racial slur at a family gathering for no goddamn reason. Peace on planet Earth.